This is the Nassaumen Hockey Podcast with James Nichols and John Zella.
See, now I don't want to say that I said I would wait until after the playoffs to judge the trade, but I did say I was going to wait until after the playoffs to judge the trade, and it just so happened to actually be a benefactor for the Islanders in Game 1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But before we get to Palmieri winning the game for the New York Islanders today, 4-3 in overtime over the Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh, which might I add is quite the big deal. Let's talk to our good buddy John Zella, who joins me once again today. What's going on, John?
Not a whole lot. I didn't get to watch as much of the game as I wanted to, but enough to talk about the exciting win.
Yeah, absolutely. And right before we get to On the Island, brought to you by DraftKings, let's talk about DraftKings. And it's playoff time, baby. Big stakes, bigger promotions every day of basketball's playoffs. DraftKings will have $20,000 in total prizes up for grabs. The best part, it's free to get your shot at all these daily cash prizes. DraftKings will be offering 2 free-to-play pools every day of the NBA playoffs, offering players a free shot at $20,000 in total prizes. DraftKings is free to play. Pools are easy to enter. Just download the DraftKings app, go to pools, and choose from a wide variety of contests for an opportunity to win cash prizes. All you have to do is answer a handful of questions and what you think is going to happen during the day's basketball game and track your results throughout the evening. Download the top-rated DraftKings app now and use promo code THPN when you sign up and get your free shot at $20,000 in total cash prizes every day of the basketball playoffs. Head to DraftKings pool page to get your shot at huge cash prizes. That's promo code THPN for a limited time only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for more details. But Game 1 to the Island. The New York Islanders defeat the Pittsburgh Penguins in overtime.
The familiar call from Brennan Burke after Game 1 2 years ago.
Yes. Thanks to the heroics from none other than Long Island's Kyle Palmieri. And it was an interesting game, right? It didn't start off maybe the greatest for the Islanders. Both teams kind of feeling each other out. The shots advantage quickly turned to the Penguins. But, to true Islander fashion, for at least the start of the game, nothing high danger, nothing in close. It was pretty much perimeter. And then suddenly, Palmieri gets the Islanders on the board first. And the game goes back and forth from there. The shots were pretty even, 42-41 in favor of the Pens. But the Islanders heavily out-hit the Penguins in this game, 72-47. The fourth line did what they do.
What do you think about that stat? Like when you see that, what are you thinking about?
It's subjective.
Because I have an opinion about it.
It's subjective. You could have a team that goes out there and runs wild and just hits with no structure. It's a little different in the Islanders' case because they do it with purpose, especially the fourth line. They do it and they make sure to they do it to regain control of the puck. So
and they usually do. I think that's.
And they usually do.
They create the turnovers. They're making the defense make a bad play. They hear footsteps. They're making a play a little bit quicker without really getting something set up or too early or something like that. You're making them essentially make a bad play.
Right. And on the flip side of that, you could have a team like the Ottawa Senators who have Brady Tkachuk, who is an excellent hockey player, and he'll have 10 hits a game, but it's not leading to much puck possession, for the Senators. So
structure around it. Like a player can go out there and just make hits.
Right.
But if the other players aren't creating the structure and kind of filling in the gaps,
right,
in between, it doesn't really supporting. That's what you're kind of hearing. You need to support players in the right position.
Yeah,
kind of coming in, and if they're not doing that, you're kind of just blindly throwing a hit.
Right.
This kind of and I didn't see the possession numbers, so maybe I don't know if we can pull that up. If you know what that was, I'm not seeing it on the team stats page on NHL.com, but it always leads me to believe that it means the Islanders didn't have the puck as much. This big of a gap makes me think that. Because this is a huge difference. It's one
So
thing if it's low. 72 is a lot.
yeah, it definitely was. What you're saying. The Islanders didn't have the puck as much as you would have liked to have had in the first. I want to say 35 minutes of the game, maybe even 40 minutes of the game. It was pretty even keeled in the first period. The second period comes and it's second period Islanders. The Penguins pretty much outplayed them that period, and the Islanders were honestly lucky to only have come out of it down a goal. But the third period came, they turned it on, and it was a flip script completely. The third period was all Islanders. So that there was one blip, which we'll talk about later, that cost them the lead late in the game. I think the goals were 31 seconds apart from the Islanders taking the lead to the game being tied again.
There were two goals quite similar, that they were almost the same, where they
Right.
scored and then gave one up.
Right.
But
so
yeah, I just look at that hit stat sometimes with the Islanders. Sometimes it means they're creating turnovers, and that's a number that you should also look at it, at a certain level.
Yeah.
And they're not a huge possession team, but they figure out the shots, and they usually have good, expected goals and all of that. So they do get the puck in the offensive zone and kind of hang on to it sometimes a little too long. But I looked at this right away after you put it up there, and I was like, man, that doesn't look great for the Islanders. And it didn't seem like that big of a mismatch until you look at some of the metrics throughout the game. Not mismatch like the Islanders weren't in the game, but like the Penguins just had the puck more. The eye test didn't exactly say that.
Yeah, and like I said, it becomes subjective because it really becomes a matter of how the team performed that game. And again, like I said earlier, for about 35 minutes of this game, the Islanders didn't have the puck. I think that's fair to say. When you include the overtime, things pretty much evened out at that point. The tides turned a little bit, but that's definitely something you're going to want to see improve in Game 2. But we will be talking about improvements for Game 2 in a little while. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about what went really right in this game, and that was the third line magic. And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but if you haven't read my article from a couple of days ago with the hockeywriters.com stating that the third line will be the X factor for the New York Islanders in this series and the playoffs moving forward, they were just that in Game 1 at the PPG Paints Arena. Kyle Palmieri, like we said, 2 goals tonight, first in the series and the overtime winner. JG Peugeot had a goal and 2 assists. He was a monster, an absolute monster in all 3 zones. It was the JG Peugeot we all know and love. Oliver Wahlstrom, I believe, chipped in an assist. And he had a couple shots on goal, and he looked really good in this game. He looked really strong, really confident. I know he had one drive to the net in particular that led to a scoring chance. He was on the Islander power play. He was in his usual spot. We'll talk about that later as well. But that third line, man, I said it earlier before the series started, and they showed it tonight. That third line is the X factor for the Islanders, and we call them the third line, but we've said time and time again, this team really has like 3 second lines. And they took over the game at one point. Peugeot was all over the place. Palmieri was there to clean it up, and Wahlstrom looked real good, kept good pace, and he was right in the mix with them.
I think in each game and moving on to other series, if the Islanders make it that far, they're going to need games like this from their whole lineup. They're going to need one line to kind of carry the mail. They're going to need another line to chip in like Nelson did, and Beauvillier on that rush.
Yep.
And they need everyone to just not mess up.
Right.
That's essentially, they need 2 lines going a game, because the fourth line isn't going to isn't always going to chip in. That's not necessarily what they're there for. 2 of them are on the penalty kill most of the time. So that and the Islanders shine there. I know you have a note in here for later for that specifically. Yeah. So, I don't think Barzell's line played poorly. They were a little invisible, but as long as they're not a liability, they really just need 2 lines to play offense a game, which is great because they're going to get Barzell's going to get the harder matchups.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of expect him to take a second to kind of figure out the other team. That's fine. They're watching him closely. They played 8 games against him this season. It's a little bit different this time around. You're kind of expecting them to play him very close.
Right.
But as you said, the third line and the depth that the Islanders have, Wahlstrom kind of steps up. They need to close the gap on him very quickly. It almost leaves Palmieri open a little bit.
Yeah.
Pajot will get him the puck, or Wahlstrom's got great vision as well. So they obviously worked really well together. And I'm glad that this line stuck together kind of through thick and thin. I know even you and I were like, why is Palmieri not on that first line already? But it doesn't really matter how they get there. I know this is a team more than the sum of its parts and outlooks on paper. It's purely, did they win tonight? The answer is yes. And they get it done. So I think the next game it's 2 other lines, a mix of 2 other lines. Maybe Barzell and Eberle get it together and they score 2 goals, and Pajot, or Wahlstrom gets in 1, or
right.
It's going to be 2 lines kind of going per game where that secondary scoring saved the game for the Islanders. They were able to kind of go, and really what the third line was able to do in scoring those goals was the Islanders didn't play from behind. I think that's important to look at. Am I wrong?
They played from behind during the second period.
Oh, they were down 2-1.
They were down 2-1 in the second period.
They started 1-0 and they played from behind. But I think that shows character then. I think that's and that's
they fought back.
I think this is a team that doesn't worry too much about that anyway.
Correct.
But, from watching it, I was bartending today, so I was watching. I didn't see they were swapping goals back and forth. I couldn't remember if they were up or down, or they were full. They fell behind. But I think it's important for this team.
Absolutely,
that they can continue to do that.
Right. They were down 2-1 after the second period. They were up 1-0 for a little while in the first period. Pittsburgh gets it back. The second period comes, then they're up 2-1. So going into the third period, they were trailing, and I believe Nelson, if I'm not mistaken, tied it, or gave him the go-ahead.
He had the go-ahead.
Yeah, he had the go-ahead. So, and like you said, it shows character, and that dates back to literally the first year that Barry Trotz was behind the bench. Since he's been behind the bench, it's always been, they're not worried about playing from behind because they always fight their way back in. Doesn't matter if it's down 2 goals, 3 goals. Now, I know, during a part of the stretch of this season and maybe a part of a stretch at the end of last season, they would go down and they would stay down. But come the playoffs, it's not that way. And they've proven that 3 seasons in a row now, and started.
Well, it's game 1.
No. I said
I'm not to take anything away from what they did.
2 seasons in a row, and they started to in game 1 of this year's playoffs
on the road, as you said earlier,
on the road,
and they played like absolute hot garbage on the road all season. Right. So I think your goal is, and like we said last week, part of your goal is to steal one on the road,
right?
If you're good in your own building, and Pittsburgh has been great in their own building.
Yeah.
So this is a surprise kind of on both sides. This was easily in the Pittsburgh's favor.
Right.
The numbers just said that. So I think it's all extra important for the Islanders to do that. And it was funny. It was a little slow today, so I was able to watch a little bit more of the game. So I watched the Nelson goal, and I said to one of the guys that were sitting at the bar, I'd be willing to bet the Islanders win 4-2 with an empty net. And then, again, 30 seconds later, the Penguins tied up, and I was like, all right, well, I think the Islanders are just going to lock it down at this point. There was it was under 5 minutes left or something like that at that point.
It was about 3 minutes.
And they went up winning 4-3 in overtime. So I was like, I was 1 goal against off at that point.
But it's a similar situation.
And I felt pretty good because the Islanders did jump ahead. They did have a lead early in the game. They kind of fought back. I think they still had the momentum, and they were kind of playing better as the game went on. And as we said last week, I think the most important thing here, again, Palmieri got a week extra with this team. Like I said last week, that week off or however many days it was, 5 or 6 days, either away from the rink or in practice or at practice,
Right.
huge difference. This team looked
Right.
very different tonight. They were able to rest their minds, their bodies, and I think it made a really big difference for sure.
Right. And that's why, like I said when I opened the show, multiple times I've said this year or since, the trade deadline, I'm going to wait to judge the trade. And I'm still not judging the trade. I'm still not saying, oh, it worked out. Yeah, he scored 2 goals in this game, first game of the series, and helped take steal a win on the road. And that's great so far, paying dividends when it matters. But who knows? Maybe he can go invisible the rest of the series. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the third line looks great right now. And like I've stated earlier, before the playoffs started, the third line of Wahlstrom, Peugeot, and Palmieri generated some really good scoring chances when they were together in the regular season. So I think that line is just going to continue to click. They were a bit unlucky in the regular season, and I think that week off was huge, almost like a tiny mini version of a training camp. They had a couple days to get a little more acclimated. They had a couple days off, so rested, reset, and ready to go. I mean, that overtime goal, he had this much room, and if you're listening to the audio, not watching the video, I'm pinching my fingers together as close as they could be to show you how much room he had to score that goal, and he did. And that's the difference that he's going to make, right? You have Wahlstrom, who's the shooter on that line, but Palmieri is a career shooter, and that's his mentality. He shoot first, just like Wahlstrom. And when you have JG Peugeot driving play, pushing forward, you're gonna have the other two guys just shooting, and that's what you need. That's what the Islanders have needed for a long time. So that line of Peugeot, Palmieri, and Wahlstrom, huge for the Islanders.
And I think if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you're looking at your goaltending and shaking your head.
Oh yeah,
because think about all the goals that were scored. They were lasers. They were really good shots. Let's not take anything away from that, but they were all pretty clear shots from the hash marks out. It was. They were all top of the circle. Like it was.
Yeah. He got a piece of like 3 out of 4 of those goals.
He had a look at him is kind of the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
And Jari didn't have a great last 3 games of the season.
No.
He collected wins. He's on Pittsburgh, so they're a good team in front of him, but his numbers are not great.
No, not great. And that was one of the advantages for the Islanders coming into this series. Their goaltending is far superior than the Pittsburgh goaltending. So defense and goaltending are still, in my opinion, despite scoring 4 goals tonight or today, goaltending and defense is what's going to win the series for them. They just have to figure out a little bit of a better way to bottle up the Pittsburgh offense, because they were a little too free at some points tonight on the ice. But, again, they buckled down, that they dominated that third period. And then, took the game in overtime. So
what I would want to see too is more traffic in front of him, because if you're scoring the goals clean,
yes,
it means if you get your body and take his eyes away, get your body in front of the net, get a little more traffic, you probably could have had a few more. And there were right. A few chances that there was a replay that I saw that somebody was diving and just like was at a bad angle and couldn't slip the puck in.
Nelson slipped the puck over to Beauvillier through the crease, and Beauvillier couldn't get a handle on it. He had a wide open net. Just missed having an open net goal there.
So the Islanders were getting more chance. Again, the score doesn't always dictate exactly what took place in the game.
100%.
And despite the Islanders having to play a little bit of catch up as far as the offensive pressure, particularly the shots, and I don't have the shot attempts in front of me, throughout the game. So maybe they had a lot of, Pittsburgh had a lot of blocks or whatever the case was. Either way, I think if you can get a little more traffic to the net, maybe, I didn't see a ton of shots just coming from the point like they normally do, which is really annoying because they just like move it from low to high, and the shots they're just not effective. This way, you know, they were shooting. They were goals off the rush. They were obviously all 5-on-5 goals. They also let in 3 5-on-5 goals against. You know, the penalty kill is really good, but sometimes you can be like, oh well, you know, we won that game 4-2 at 5-on-5.
Right.
We just had to tighten up the penalty kill. At this point, it's kind of like, you know, their strength was 5-on-5 at, you know, and the goal differential there. So they really do need to just tighten up 5-on-5. And I don't know if we're gonna talk about the goals against. Do you want to save that?
We could talk about the goals against as far as, you know, well, you know what? Let's wait for improvements in game 2. I did want to mention, not only was the third line buzzing tonight, but the second line was as well. They had a combined 10 shots. Nelson had a goal. Bavillier chipped in an assist. I think Bailey alone had 4 shots of his own, as did Bavillier, and a couple of pucks got away from Bavillier. He probably had like 2 or 3 clean chances to score a goal. So, like you said, the score doesn't always dictate what happened in the game. This game, as much as it could have been a 5-2 game in Pittsburgh's favor, it could have also been, a 6-3 game in favor of the Islanders, because Bavillier, he really did have some grade A chances. Puck just got away from him a little bit. Jari did make one good save on a opportunity from in close in the slot. So the second line was buzzing, and we saw what they could do last year in the playoffs. They took over, especially Bavillier. He was on a heater. So with the third line playing as good as they're playing, and the second line hopefully continuing this upward trend, that middle six is very dangerous. I'm not going to say they're the most dangerous in middle six in the playoffs right now, but they're a very dangerous middle six, which kind of leads us to improvements for game 2, because the first line tonight was a non-factor. And now in the offensive zone, right? Defensive zone, there were no liabilities, which is great. Sometimes no news is good news. People like to say that. And it's true, right? They weren't a liability. They were out on the ice, but they were kind of just going through the motions. One thing I will say, though, is Komarov had 14 hits tonight alone. That's a lot.
Yeah, and I think in the next game on Tuesday, I'll have to pay attention a little bit more to like where he's throwing those hits. From what I saw, they were all over the ice.
Yeah,
it wasn't like there was anything in particular.
Keep in mind too, he's on the penalty kill, which they were out there a couple of times. So, but 14 hits for Komarov, that's great, but not really a first line player stat that you want to see.
Yeah, but that's not what he's going to bring. Like, you expect exactly that.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to bring that to the table. I don't know. No, he's also not a first line player.
Right. Exactly.
He is a first line player, but he's, not a typical first line player. So
yeah.
Yes, this is a first line player stat for this team.
This is what the first line is right now. And they're going to continue rolling that out the entirety of the playoffs, like it or not. I think if I'm not mistaken, yes, I tweeted out 2 or 3 days ago, like it or not, they've skated together, Komarov, Barzal, and Eberle, for 53 and change % Corsi 4, which means they're controlling the puck more often than not. And when you get close to that 55% mark, it's supposed to be considered an elite level puck possession factor for that line. So that's good. Are they generating the raw stats of goals? Not really. We would like to see Barzal be a little bit more of a factor in game 2. He wasn't so much a factor in game 1.
But I mean, we've seen superstars do this.
Oh yeah,
like it's not like I don't know that I'm worried about it. We just need him to find his way. Eberle as well, because he was such a big factor.
Huge
2 years ago.
Two years ago, right?
So I think it's really important for them to, I think just at least find their footing and get chances. That's the start of it, right? Like you just need them to get their own chances, and eventually they'll go in. You can't shoot 0% forever. And
if it's not going to be at 5-on-5, it needs to be on the power play. And And here's the thing: the Islanders had a 4-minute power play tonight, and it wasn't great. And that's against a Pittsburgh penalty kill who had a hard time this season. They were bottom of the league in like the 20%. I'm sorry, the 70% penalty kill rate, and I think they were like 21st overall in the NHL. So they didn't keep pucks out of the net on the penalty kill too much, and both units were not good. The second unit, which is the quote unquote Wallstrom unit, was better than the Barzal unit, but
They shoot the puck.
Well, that's the thing. They shoot the
They
puck.
move. They're moving to shoot. There's movement with all the players to get pucks to the net.
They have two shooters. They have Palmieri. They have Wallstrom. The first unit was less active, and then they actually couldn't even gain control of the zone. So
they rely too heavily on Barzal carrying that puck in.
Yes, and it's not working.
Well, I mean, you know who the guy is. Not a surprise. They have to figure out another way. I'm not sure exactly what that is, other than just chipping it in and do what you do at 5-on-5 to a certain degree. Do what you do on 5-on-5, but you can't be as methodical about every aspect of your power play, because this is what's going to happen. You're not going to generate any shots, and you're just not going to score. Which one leads to the other.
Right, and that's why I bring this up, because if Barzal and Eberle aren't going to be a factor 5-on-5, if the line is that incomplete without Anders Lee, that they can't really generate too much offense, then on the power play they're going to have to, right? They have all of their offensive weapons out on the ice. They're up a man. They have the advantage, so they need to figure out a way to be a factor on the power play, which, again, like you stated 2 seasons ago, Eberle surely was. He was very good on both 5-on-5 and on the power play. Maybe some of that has to do with the net front presence that Anders Lee was, both at 5-on-5 and up on the man advantage. But somebody's got to stand in front of the goaltender right now, and even before that, they have to be able to possess the puck in the offensive zone. So that 4-minute power play wasn't great. They didn't get really many other calls. I think that was their only power play. It came in a span of 4 minutes at a time, at one time, and no other calls for them. So they definitely need to, as they always have, improve on that power play.
I mean, I think, I know it's the playoffs and the whistles get, put in the pockets a little bit, but I think it's also like, got to keep your feet moving, make sure you're, drawing the penalties. It means Barzal didn't have the puck enough, and maybe his feet weren't moving and all that kind of stuff. So maybe you want to see a little bit more of that in game 2.
I'm not so much, moving on from the power play, I'm not so much on the hype train of, send Scott Mayfield to the moon. A lot of people or a lot of Islander fans have been talking about how miserable his play is. And look, he did not have a strong game tonight. One goal in particular, the third, I believe it was the game tying goal.
Because it was set 30 seconds or whatever it was right after
Kasperi Kapanen, ties the game late in the third period, and it was pretty much all on Mayfield. He didn't do really anything to stop him from shooting the puck. I think he screened Sorokin, and
didn't close the gap. It was a 3-on-2 rush, 3-on-2 rush or 3-on-3 rush. Everyone had a guy. Whoever was on the outside that made the pass, the Islanders just kind of like let it happen. You knew he wasn't going to shoot from there. Whoever that was driving on the outside, you knew that that pass was coming, or at least a shot to the net to create an opportunity. You knew he wasn't trying to shoot to score.
Right.
Most likely he was going to pass. And I don't know if you're Mayfield, how you don't see that coming.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad sequence of events that just all the signs pointed to that was all on Mayfield. And I don't know, a lot of Isles Twitter, take him out, he's got to go, yada yada. Look, if you take him out, I don't know what you're going to get is much better. I don't know.
You don't want Coburn,
right?
Mayfield to he's he's not always the most graceful, and there's plays like this that don't look great and some of that, but he's at least mobile and he's a big guy. And
Yeah,
Coburn kind of is like in the big guy character category, and then that's it.
that's
And I don't
really
know
it.
against a fast Penguins team,
And that's
you
right.
want a forward, a defenseman that isn't as mobile as Mayfield.
Exactly.
So for the most part, this is the only season where people are saying this again, and we've said this before about other players. He didn't forget how to do this. He's
Right.
having a bad season. People have bad seasons.
Right.
That's pretty much it. So I don't know that it's just like, all of a sudden we need to try to get Hickey in there or something like that. And as much as I'm a Hickey supporter, at least this pairing's been playing together for
Right.
some time. Like, this is not the time. The lab, it's over. You're getting what you get right now, unless something egregious happens. This doesn't exactly rise to that situation. I think, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not Barry Trotz. So
yeah, and I
um,
don't know if Trotz wants to lose maybe his physicality, just
right.
because if
He's
you're
mobile and big, like
right,
you just don't. It's very
exactly.
rare to
He
get
can
both of
keep
those things.
pace, and if you put Coburn in, he can be just as physical, but he can't keep pace. And we saw how fast the Penguins could be tonight. And they're a fast team. Even 36-year-old Jeff Carter is a fast player. So, there was one player in particular where Mayfield put Crosby down on the ice. He gave him a good, put a good body
People
on
love
him.
retweeting that video, and then the next tweet saying
And
like, get
correct.
rid of him, and it's okay.
Correct.
This is what you're getting out of this guy, and again, I think it's just he's having a bad season. This was not a conversation last year.
Yeah, it wasn't.
We were talking about how strong the 6 Islanders defensemen were, and yes, it's very different this year. That's fine. It may be different matchups. It's also a new pairing.
Right.
Things are a little bit different.
Right.
It's okay. They are still winning games. They're winning when it counts. You do just want them to play a little bit better, and that might happen. As long as he's invisible the next game, everyone's going to forget about it.
Yeah, it's easy to point to him at this point too, right? We've said he's had a tough season.
Well, eyes are on him. It's not like it's it's one thing if it just kind of like happens, like, all right, I had a bad game, fine.
Yeah.
But when eyes are on you the entire season,
right,
it's these things shine a little bit brighter,
right?
Versus your good plays. Again, although people are very quick to tweet out the videos or retweet Rob or Isles' blog when the videos come out of a good play, and then tend to ignore that even happened after they liked it when something bad happens.
Right. And at this point too, I don't know if we can any longer talk about, he was so much better paired up with Devin Tays, because that was true because last year he had a better season, but is it because Devin Tays isn't there? I can't really confirm or deny that, but Nick Leddy's had a stellar season. There has been no Nick Leddy haters this year. So I don't know if it's completely because of his D partner. It might just be that he's having a bad season. And that
I think mentally this has just been a tough season for every player. Now, they're all in the same playing field, for all intents and purposes, but it affects everybody a little bit different. And you don't know what he's going through. I don't know I don't know if he's living with a teammate, if he's living on his own, if he's able to see his family at all. I know he's a young guy, so he probably doesn't have a family of his own. Mentally, it wears on you a little bit.
Sure.
And it could just be having a bad, it was a condensed schedule. You could just be mentally tired. Things could just be wearing on you, and all that stuff's fair. I'm not saying we can't point out that he had a bad game. We're obviously well within our right to do that. But just remember, a bad season in the career of Scott Mayfield is not like, expose him. He's got to be the guy. Expose him to Seattle and get him off this team, and then what? Replace him with who exactly?
Exactly.
So let's relax. You know, we made some bad plays, and I think I'm not saying that to you
No,
necessarily, but you know, let him rebound. This is the time where look, the entire team played like absolute horseshit the last month or so.
Yeah.
It's not pointing out one guy.
Right. You're not going to replace Mayfield and suddenly the team's going to go on a 16-0 streak.
Right. It's not little things like that. The team is a team, and they pick themselves up and they make up for each other's mistakes and all that stuff. And now I'll say that and also bring up Josh Bailey, because you had mentioned that he had a good he was playing well offensively.
Yes.
But there's one play in particular, and again, I'm not going to judge the entire game by this, but I just didn't like how he was very soft on one of the goals. He like blocked the shot. I understand you blocked a shot, and that may not feel very nice, but he just like he went down, blocked the shot, and then that was it. He kind of like just gave. It wasn't like he was hurt and like went down and like swung his stick at the other guy's stick or tried to. He just like, ow, that hurt, and then just stopped. Like he barely went after the other player, and I was like,
I don't know.
That's unacceptable in the playoffs. That was my big thing.
Do you think it was that he went down, blocked a shot, and kind of hunched over and sold the pain? I'm not entirely sure, because they did block the initial shot. The puck just wound up on another Penguin stick.
No, it was the same guy, right?
Okay,
it was the same guy right in front of him, and then there was no second effort. It was just, for playoff hockey, to me, that was very, very soft. And that annoys the hell out of me, because that's completely avoidable.
Yeah,
a lot like the Mayfield thing. Like, what do you think was going to happen? Even if the guy doesn't have the puck, even if there was a rebound and the guy does shoot it, pick up your guy, close the gap. Like, that's basic shit to me. The Bailey thing, I don't know that it's basic so much as like it was just zero effort, and that annoys me on a team built. They're nothing if not effort. This is hardly a good hockey team when you really look at it. It is all structure and effort. It's like someone that's, they get good grades and they study really hard and it's all this stuff. It doesn't come naturally to this team to just be good. This team's freaking studies. There's a big difference. And when you're just straight up not providing that effort, that annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Watching that goal, I was like, that was some shit. That was lazy.
You're so used to watching guys like Casey Zizekas lay the body out, JJ Pajot lay the body out. Even last season, Johnny Boychuk laying the body out and making those second efforts after the initial effort. So I could see why that is frustrating, and I can't remember offhand exactly how the play went. So
it was in the high slot, and Bailey blocked the shot, and it was good. He got in the way. Excellent. Check. Whatever you wanted on your list of good job. but then, like, again, I know it stings and it kind of like something, right? Like, you're going to do that. That's going to happen. You're going to get stung a little bit, but he just kind of waved his stick at the guy and he just had all the time in the world.
Right.
Just all the time in the world.
Right.
And again, a team built on second and third and fourth efforts where it's desperation. It's playoff hockey. Like, give me something to work with here. You're just kind of, I don't know. That
was not Islander defense.
It wasn't Islander or anything. Defense,
okay,
hockey.
I like that.
Like, it wasn't Islander hockey. That's just not what you want to see. And look, I'm not the biggest Josh Bailey fan, but it's hard to ignore the positive things he's done for this team, if only in the locker room and the things we don't see, because he has been on these teams for so long. He has been. I think is he the only player? Maybe Matt Martin from Fight Night. Like, he is part of this DNA of this team.
Zizekas was there too. Yeah,
Zizekas. So. Fight Night, maybe the 13 series, maybe not 2011.
Oh, I'm thinking 13. I'm thinking the playoffs.
But even that playoff series, even if you wanted to start there, and that was that was an article that I had for the Hockey Writers a while ago, that their DNA was forged a decade ago. And I
Right.
kind of tie it to both of those things. We've talked about this before,
Yeah.
but he freaking knows.
Oh,
He
yeah.
knows exactly what it takes. He knows what that series was like
Yeah.
in 13. And it wasn't blocking shit shots like that and just letting them walk by you. That is not it.
Yeah.
I know he's 31 now. He's not ancient. Come on.
True.
Effort. Let's go. I don't know. That to me, playoff hockey, that's not it.
Yeah. No, totally see where you're coming from. The second and third effort needs to be there, especially with the what's on the line right now in the playoffs, and taking game one is and was a big deal. Luckily, they were able to come away with the win, despite that not having that second or third effort from Mr. Bailey. The last thing that we wanted to note that the Islanders should improve on in game two is in the faceoff dot. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think only Casey Cizikas went positive in the faceoff circle. He won 78%.
78%.
Yeah,
That's
78%
ridiculous.
of his draws. Uncharacteristic of JG Peugeot, only winning 42% of his draws. But yeah, they definitely want to win more faceoffs because that will lead to more puck possession.
Yeah, I'd put that in there because it was very uncharacteristic, as you said, of Peugeot. And you know,
And if
even
that's his only criticism tonight, then I think that is his only criticism for game one. He was fantastic. So we're not sitting here bashing Peugeot, but faceoffs are important. That will need to improve moving forward.
For a team that thrives on actually getting the puck,
yeah,
and because it's not always very often,
yeah.
You know, you see that hit number up. It might be because they weren't winning the draws. They had to get the puck back somehow.
Yeah, I mean,
so
Crosby's very good at faceoffs. Malcolm wasn't in tonight. I believe Jeff Carter's a pretty good faceoff guy too. So, it's not like they have any schlubs on the other end of the ice, but Peugeot is more known to, like, his career percentage is like 50s, like mid 50s.
Yeah, he wins more than half on a regular basis.
It's pretty incredible. So that's something you're definitely going to want to see, go in the upward trend for next game.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
I as much as I wanted to say, now we're going to go on a high note. As much as I want to say the X factor was Peugeot and the third line, a little part of me also wants to give that credit to Sorokin, man, because he was incredible. He was incredible today. It was
he didn't look like it fazed him.
Right.
It didn't look like. I think I don't know that it was a surprise to us. It was not to him.
Well,
I'm sure he's been preparing for a couple days, and
maybe. Well, Trotz said last night they had to make a decision, so he's been
had to make a decision
last night.
He had to make a decision the day before. Had his past tense. You don't know when he had to make the decision. It could have been, he could have.
I see what you're saying.
Especially with Varlamov going out at the last game of the season, they went to Sorokin and said, "Prepare as if you're starting game one."
Oh yeah, that
what I mean. Like this was not a surprise to anybody. They had to make a final decision at some point. I have a feeling, judging by the staple quote of Trotz, that he said we had to make a decision last night on Varlamov. So again, that was the night before. So again, Sorokin went to bed knowing what was going on.
Correct.
And he as in Varlamov will practice again tomorrow. We have two capable goalies. Let's do what's right, not risk anything. Sounds a lot like what I said.
Yes.
No reason to rush a guy back if he's your guy. Steal a game on the road and get him back in by the time you're back on Long Island. Give him another day of practice and he'll be 100%. So that's kind of what I was hoping he'd be in for game one, but I didn't think he'd be out of the series completely. Yeah. It's just they obviously trust Sorokin. I'm happy to see that. I think it's good. I think it was good for Sorokin to do that.
Oh yeah.
But like I said, I also think he's they were having that conversation immediately following, was it in Buffalo or Boston or whatever? Immediately following that game, they went, Ilya, be ready for game one. Let's get ready. Prepare as if you're you're going in.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much as it was a surprise to us, might not have been a surprise to him because he was calm, he was cool, he was collected, and I think that definitely has a lot to do with the um, high caliber games he's played overseas. Right? He's won gold medals. He's won Garganian championships. Right? That's
He's
that
been
right?
a pro. Like he's not like he's
Yeah.
just like a rookie coming in
Right.
at like, Kaprizov's kind of the same way
Right.
where these guys have played at a high level
Yeah.
for a long. They've been professionals
Yeah.
longer than a
Absolutely.
lot of North American players have been professionals.
Right. So he makes 39 saves tonight, 929 save percentage, and he made some timely, big, athletic saves. I mean, I think it was Crosby or Gensel on a wraparound where he made this split save that I don't know if Varlamov makes that save. And look, and we'll talk about who gets in that in game two. No discredit to Varlamov, but that's the kind of goaltender that he is. He's explosive, he's athletic, and he knows it, and he's going to utilize that.
I wonder how much the team is trying to make him only utilize that when he needs to. Because I think
Probably.
and I'd love to talk to somebody that knows about goaltending a little bit more. If I had to guess, and I'm no goaltending guru like the two Islanders coaches, that screams to me that he is out of position. Some of the things he does
Maybe.
that
Right.
when he's really athletic means he needed to be. And I think that was like, seeing a lot of these goalies I remember in the early 2000s, maybe the late 90s, things like that. These goalies diving all over the place, and you're like, you really shouldn't have to do that. Like, it's a desperation save for a reason. It's because you were out of position. Now, I don't think that's necessarily what he's doing, but it's the flavor of that for sure.
It also depends on the play, right? There's plays where,
a fake shot, a block thing, the puck bounces. And I think that's what happened on that wraparound.
Right. Yes. So, but that's the thing. He's athletic enough to still make that save and save a goal there. So, the one thing though that I will say, he was fantastic tonight. I can't take anything away from him. He was one of the main reasons they won that game. The one thing I don't like though about his style, I don't know if this is a KHL thing. I don't know if a lot of KHL goaltenders do this, but with his blocker, if he knows that he doesn't need to go down for it, that's fine. But he punches at the puck, as it's coming towards him. So I don't know. To me, that creates too many chances for a rebound. I think maybe he's trying to punch at that puck and get it, further away from him to the far boards, maybe towards the blue line. But I much more prefer he doesn't punch that puck. I don't know. Did you notice this at all?
I didn't notice that in particular, but zooming out just on his rebound control in general, and he's a little too calm about letting the puck hit him. He doesn't always absorb them very well, and they kind of just sit in front of him for a second, and he doesn't like put him in the corner. He doesn't do like the puck is often sitting in front of him. And he's waiting for a defender. He doesn't like pounce on it to cover it or anything like that.
Poke it away.
It's a little too calm, almost cocky, where he's like, "Yeah, I saved it," and it just sits there, and you're like, "Okay, now what?" Like you I don't think it's hurt him so far. I can't remember any specific instance.
Yeah, and I
of that.
didn't see that too much tonight.
But yeah, I noticed it enough where I was like, swipe at it or something. The most aggressive I've seen him, and it was super late. Trying to swipe the puck or get in the way was Gensel going around the net, and he took the tripping penalty.
Right.
He waited a real long time for that, and he could have poke checked pretty much at any point. I was confused at the timing of what he did, and again, that's to me is similar to the rebound thing where I'm like, why are you waiting so long to decide what you're going to do with this rebound? And his rebound control in general just isn't very good.
Yeah, I didn't notice too much of that tonight. Like I said, he was really good. But that
he was really good. I'll don't want to top that. I want to end my rant with that.
But I think if I'm not mistaken, there was one instance or one goal against for Sorokin this season where he did that, right? He punched at the blocker, or he punched at the puck with the blocker, and it wound up deflecting oddly off the butt end of his stick after he came in contact with the blocker and wound up in the back of the net. So
Did
that's the,
Hasek used to do that?
maybe I don't.
There's
I
a
don't
goalie,
know.
like I remember a goalie doing that. It's not a modern thing
It's
for
not.
sure.
It's definitely not. And like I said, I don't know if it's like a KHL goaltender thing. I don't watch enough of the KHL to know if more goaltenders over on the over the pond do that. But I noticed it tonight more than usual. I don't know if he did that too much during the regular season, but I definitely noticed it tonight. I hope that's something that they address and they bring up to him and say, hey, let's not do that, because it did create a couple of rebound chances, but if nothing else, he was nothing short of fantastic tonight. Again, 39 saves, 929 save percentage. Made some big athletic, timely saves for the Islanders and helped keep them in the game and ultimately secure the game.
I feel like Butchie would prefer him. Like he almost doesn't mind that that Sorokin stays up sometimes, because he always just makes a point of saying, "Oh, all the goalies drop down," and the fact that Sorokin just kind of stays up and tries to punch it away. I feel like that would, Butchie would be like, "Oh, I like that play."
And maybe
it's a very
it is,
weird thing to see. I'll say that.
we're so used to the butterfly. That's what today's goaltender normally does. Maybe he's got a little bit of a hybrid thing going on with a little bit of a stand-up game, and maybe that helps him, right? Maybe that's why he's able to make some of those better saves that he makes, because he stays on his skates a little more.
Maybe it was Patrick Waugh used to do that. I'm trying to remember goalies from like 15 years ago or more.
You're not gonna let this go, huh?
Doing this. No, because it's interesting, but like I know I've seen it before, and not like in the 80s or things like I'm talking about, like with pads that looked somewhat similar to now.
Yeah.
Even though, because Waugh wasn't exactly a butterfly goalie, he was kind of in that weird hybrid era.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of goalies from that time. I'll have to go back on YouTube and try to do some research.
Yeah. Regardless, Sorokin helped secure game one. Islanders now have the advantage while still on the road, which is pretty huge. All you got to do is win out at home, and then you take the series. But let's talk game two on Tuesday night. Let's say Varlamov is 100% healthy. A lot of people are telling me or saying to me that they think Sorokin should stay in net. What do you think?
I still think it's Varlamov's net. Sorokin's keeping it warm.
Oh, yeah.
He can play well. The same thing with like last year with Grice coming in.
Yep.
Sometimes you need your backup to come in.
Yeah.
Hell, that happened, if I'm not mistaken, with the Caps run, where Holtby wasn't playing well. Backup came in.
Mm-hmm.
Got him, I think, through the first round. I think it happened with Pittsburgh too, at different times. Their backup or whatever.
Well, look at Dallas last year. Khudobin brought them to the cup.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that, where it's the backup gets him through a round or two, and then the other guy comes in halfway through the second round, and who's the main guy,
right?
And then takes him the rest of the way. Like it's Varlamov's net. You need, in today's league, you need both goalies to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Varlamov's net, unless Sorokin pitched a shutout tonight and then wins the next game. That's the only way they're like, we'll ride the hot goalie until he's not.
Yeah.
If you have a 4-3 game, that's an Islander win. That's fine. It's not like, I wonder what the difference is if Varlamov's in the net. I don't think the team plays very different in front of Sorokin versus Varlamov. No. I can't tell.
Not anymore, at least.
Not anymore, at least. So I don't know that maybe this is still a 4-3 game. I honestly don't know. Two of the goals were kind of point blank chances, just kind of bad defensive plays. You can say the same thing about the Penguins' goals against as well. The Islanders scored, where it was a lot of point blank chances that the defense could have stepped up, bad gap control.
Yeah,
2 of them were three of them were snipes.
Yeah.
He got Jari got a hold of or a piece of rather of Nelson's shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he didn't look any better, but yeah, maybe it's a 4-2 game.
Right.
Maybe it kind of it shakes out different, but it's still 4-3. I'm not sure, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's Varlamov's net. He's
Yeah.
way more stable game to game.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
he's their
I
guy. Like
I
it's
don't even know if
again,
you could say.
I'm not saying Sorokin isn't, but
I
Varlamov's
know.
just
I know.
more. It's
Yeah.
simply
Yeah.
just
You're right. You're right.
he's the guy. He's who you rode through the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Grice filled in when necessary, beautifully,
Right.
as he always did on this team. I think Sorokin's, he had to step in for game one.
Right.
It's a precautionary thing. And when you have a goalie like Sorokin, who you know is going to come in and just kick ass,
Mm-hmm.
you go, all right, yeah, Varlamov, yeah, go, you go in the press box. You don't even have to dress tonight. Like,
Take a rest.
take a rest.
Enjoy yourself.
It could be
Get
something.
popcorn.
Get a popcorn and a soda. None of that stinking root beer. And just like, well, if you don't know what that's from, just you can go ahead and turn this off. But it could be something very tiny,
Right.
a wrist thing. He caught a puck weird. I don't know. I didn't see the injury. He looked a little uncomfortable. He tried to go for a skate. Maybe, I'm assuming it's always like a lower body injury or something. There's super not a reason for him to just be forced into a game, because then he's out, and then you really need to ride Sorokin. Then he's unprepared.
Right.
Knowing he has to fill in for a game or two, and knowing he's most likely not the guy, I think it's the better move. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. If you haven't watched this on YouTube and you're listening to the audio, as John has been going about his business, I've been sitting there, nodding my head in approval, agreeing with every single thing you just said. It's his net. It's 100% Varlamov's net. He's gonna be in the conversation for a Vezina, right? He could very well win the Vezina. You're gonna sit a Vezina candidate for your 1B goaltender. I don't know if he's a backup at this point. He might be a 1B Sorokin, but regardless, Varlamov's your 1A. He's been through multiple of these runs with not just the Islanders, but he was there with the Capitals once. He was there. He might have been there with the Avalanche once. Regardless, he's your reliable starting goaltender who's a Vezina candidate right now.
Unless Sorokin pitches a shutout in game one, which he didn't, and then goes into game two on the road,
but
and
I'm not
lets
even
in
asking
2 goals. Like, unless he's hot. He played a really good game.
But I'm not even asking for that. I'm asking game 2, Varlamov is 100%.
What's I mean? Decision? Even if Varlamov's 100%, the only way Sorokin keeps playing is if he's just stopping every single puck, and he did a really good job.
Yeah,
he still let in 3 goals to 5-5.
Yeah.
So whether that was him or the team in front of him, he opened the door for Varlamov to come back, and it makes it an easier decision to put Varlamov back in.
Yeah.
Again, if he's absolutely lights out in games 1 and 2 or whatever the case is, and Varlamov's 100%, yeah, that your decision's made for you. You know it's going to happen.
If Varlamov's 100%, he'll be in next game. So I think somebody asked me today if even if he's not 100%, but he's close, does he play? And I said no, because if that was the case, he would have played in game 1, and he didn't. So Trotz is saying the
pressure's off then in game 2. It's not you won game 1, you kind of banked a game already. You don't want to lose it. And they're not going into the game going, Sorokin's in it, they're going to lose. You won 13 games in the regular season. It wasn't like he played like shit all season or something.
Right. And at the end of the day, Varlamov is still the better goaltender right now. Sorokin's absolutely the future. He's incredible. But right now, Varlamov is the better goaltender. He's, like you said, more reliable. And there are little things about his game that make him that much better. He's got better position. He's more sound in the crease. So that's going to be ultimately what is the deciding factor for Trotz with who he puts in net. He's much more seasoned, and it's great that we have Sorokin who can, come into a series and steal a game one. This is a fantastic problem to have, that we have two really good goaltenders who can steal a game, and that's going to be one of, like I've said before, their strengths going throughout this playoff series, and not just this series, the entirety of the playoffs. You need two good goaltenders. We have two good goaltenders, and once Varlamov is 100%, it will be his net once again. But I think that's about it, pal.
I think so.
I think so.
Excited for game 2. They're gonna need Barzal to kind of show up one way or another, even if he's stopped. He needs to get more attempts. He needs to kind of buzz around a little bit.
Right.
Hopefully Varlamov's back. I'm comfortable with Sorokin's, and I was nervous today. A lot less if he's in for game 2. No need to rush Varlamov back. Let him get the rest that he needs, and let him close it out at home if he's ready for 3 and 4, if it gets that far. Well, if it comes to that, I should say. But yeah, very much looking forward to game 2. Weird start time, 7:30 on Tuesday, and we're recording early this week, so we're going to try to get another show out, maybe to dissect games 3 and 4, or I'm sorry, 2 and 3, and we can see you later this week.
Yeah, we will definitely see you later this week. I just want to give a quick thank you to the Hockey Podcast Network, the Hockey Writers, and of course, all of you, our listeners. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Nassaumen Hockey, and you can find our work at the Hockey Writers. Like John said, we will be recording another episode later this week, so be sure to follow us on our social media accounts so you can stay up to date with when that show will drop. We will keep you posted. And until next time, everybody, let's go Islanders.